Yeah, hi, good morning, guys. Mike here at Global Investments in the UK. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. I just wanted to do a video this morning. A couple of my staff and also clients asking a very similar question that comes up quite a lot, and it's a difficult question to answer. So I'm going to try my best anyway. So as a company, you know, we deliver both US and UK buy-to-let investment opportunities. So we sell in the UK, which is where I am right now, and also in the US as well. And a big question that comes up all the time, and it can be a conflicting question, difficult question to answer, but like I said, I'm going to try, is which is the best market and what is the difference between the two? Well, I think there's no definitive answer. There's no right answer, no wrong answer. And I personally think it's down to you as an individual investor and how adverse you are to risk. Because some markets are built to deliver cash flow, some are built to deliver cash flow and growth as well. So one market could be great for one investor, but the other could be better for another investor, really depending on what you guys are looking for as investors, you know. But let me try and give you my thoughts on what we sell in the UK and what we sell in the US. So the UK, as you know, our UK product comes with a guaranteed 25-year lease with the local authority, and it gives you a 9% net return guaranteed for 25 years, linked with the CPI, which is inflation. That sounds fantastic to me anyway. I've invested for many years in property, the stock market, the S&P 500, and if you're getting 9% on your money, you're doing well. Like you look at some markets, the likes of, I don't know, Miami, Europe, places like Scandinavia, the UK, look at London. Like in Miami right now, you're lucky to get 2%, 3%, which is why we have a lot of clients from Miami investing in the likes of Cleveland in the US, you know, Detroit, because they can't get more than 2 or 3%. The same as in London. You're not going to get more than 2 or 3% investing in London right now. So yeah, our UK product I think is great. What are the main benefits? Your main benefits would be the rent is guaranteed. It's the lease that you sign is with the local authority, which is backed by the government. So you get 9% guaranteed, which is also linked to the CPI, which is like inflation. So over the 25 years, you're going to get around about 11% a year over those 25 years. So it comes with zero maintenance, zero vacancy, no management costs, great cash flow. So it sounds fantastic. What are the downsides, Mike? So what are the not pitfalls, but what is there has to be some risks involved or a downside to the UK? Well, I think there is one downside to the UK, and if you ask me, I think the properties or the properties that we market are over the market value. So I'm very transparent about that, and our brochure showed as well. If you buy a property off us for, let's say, £100,000 in, let's say, Durham, which is in the north of England, then could you buy a cheaper property on the same street in that area? 100% you could, probably 30 or 40% cheaper. But what you have to remember is when you buy our social housing in the UK, you're not buying a property, you're buying an investment vehicle. It's like putting money into the stock market or the S&P 500. So you're buying a vehicle that is going to guarantee, you're buying that cash flow, you're buying the numbers, you're buying the fact that the property is fully renovated, it has no vacancy, so if your tenant leaves, you still get your rent. So you're buying that package with the local authority that we have a deal with, and the local authority has a deal with the government who fund them. So that's what you're buying, you know. So, you know, the lease, no management, no maintenance, which if you look at it, all of those things, if you just bought a normal property, a normal buy-to-let property in the UK, if you took maintenance or vacancy and all of those things into consideration, it would cost you tens of thousands of pounds over a 25-year period. So I think it's a great product for any investor that is looking at a very hands-off product, armchair investment, where you can just put your money away, forget about it, and you get your rent every month. The downside, I don't think you're going to see much growth. So let's say in 25 years' time, you get back what you paid for your property. You've had 25 years at 9% net, and you still own the asset. So even if you sold it for what you paid for it, you've done very well. You've almost taken back 4 times what you paid for the property. So, and remember, you can sell the property at any time as well. So let's say in 5 years or 10 years time, let's say you wanted to sell the property, you need the £100,000 back. You can sell it with the remaining lease attached to the house. So I think our UK product is fantastic for those investors that are not so adverse to risk and don't really want to be putting a lot of time or effort into the investment, you know. So that would be my take on the UK. If we wanted to talk about the US, like I've been in the US market now for coming up to 20 years, lived in Orlando, so I know the Florida market very well. Over the last 12 years as a company, we've sold 6,500 properties in the US. So I know Cleveland well, Detroit well, St. Louis well, upstate New York. We're in Canton now, Memphis. So we've been in and around a lot of the not emerging markets, but markets that came down. And obviously, very like the stock market, when markets come down, that is when you go in and you buy cheap and you get that cash flow. You get the properties up and running with good management and see growth over the cycle. And the cash flow allows us to hold that property through the cycles. So I think the difference with the UK and the US is, number one, I think you're going to see a higher return in the US if you do it properly. And when I say do it properly, I mean you buy in the right location, you have good management in place, you buy a property that's in good condition, and you put time and energy yourself into it. I think every investment you need to look at, whether it's weekly or monthly, touch base with your management company, where in the UK you don't really need to do that, because the UK, the rents are just paid monthly, and like I said, they're guaranteed as well. But I think in the US, if you are that little bit more adverse to risk, number one, because you're buying in a market that's come down. For example, Cleveland. I personally think Cleveland is halfway through a cycle, and I think there's some incredible opportunities in Cleveland right now. If you buy in the right location, the right neighborhood, I think you could double your money in the next 5 years. So you buy a duplex for, let's say, $90,000 or $100,000 in the right area. In 5 years' time, that's worth $200,000, and you would have seen cash flow over the last 3, 4, 5 years as well. So I think the US is a totally different product to the UK, and potentially can give you more, because if you look at some of our houses, for example, in Cleveland, that are delivering an 18, 19, 20% net return, but you have to take into consideration vacancy, tenants will leave. You have to take into consideration maintenance. You're going to have to do some work on your property. And maybe take off, 4 or 5% off whatever we advertise as a company. So let's say we advertise 19 or 20% as a company. If you take off 4 or 5%, you're still left with 14 or 15%, which is still a great return, and better than 9%, which is in the UK. But the energy, the time, the effort that you need to put into it, is different. And that's why I said right at the start, I think that it depends on you as an investor. It depends on you. You know, what are you looking for? And do you have time to put into it? If you do, then maybe look at the US. If you don't, maybe look at the UK. So I think you have to take those things into consideration in the US. But I think in the US, if you buy in the right pockets, the right neighborhoods in the likes of Cleveland or Detroit, Canton, which is another area that we're pushing a lot right now, which is great because we can leverage in Canton. So we can give you mortgages in Canton, 70% for foreign nationals, 80% for domestic investors. So your cash down is really low, because you've got to remember, some investors don't have, like our cheapest property in the UK is £98,000. That's $125,000. Some investors don't have that. They might only have $40,000 or $50,000 available. So our Canton product would be the best for them, because I can get you a property, a single family home in Canton, $45,000 all in. That's including our fees, legal fees, underwriting fees, the mortgage company's fees, everything. And your cash on cash return would be anything between 13 and probably 17 or 18%, especially for US nationals. So out of state investors, we can give you an 80% mortgage on the Canton product. So you might need to put as little as $30,000 into it, and again, you're going to get anything between 13 right up to 16, 17, 18% on your money, which also allows people to buy multiple properties. So, which a lot of people like to do. They like to build a portfolio by leveraging. So if you've got $120,000, you might want to buy one property in the UK. You might want to buy 3 or 4 properties in Canton. So again, it comes down to that individual investor's needs. And I think good investment is about diversifying, and not every investment is for everyone. And as a company, we try to deliver something for everybody, and something that tailors your individual needs as an investor. So again, that's why I think it's really important you sit down with somebody, you have a virtual meeting, you have a Zoom call with us, and talk to us about what it is you're looking for, and what budget you've got, if it's 150,000, if it's $500,000, if it's $1 million. And I think good investment is about diversifying. You might decide to put some money into the UK and some money into the US and get the best of both worlds, so it's not an easy question to answer. Summing up, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think there is great opportunities in both markets. I think the social housing opportunity is incredible. Do I think there's some great opportunities in the US? Incredible opportunities, especially in the likes of Cleveland. You look at the money that's getting pumped into that city right now. The likes of Amazon, Ford, the motor company, the Cleveland Clinic getting developed. You've got Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns. He's just bought that land outside of the airport, so it looks like the Browns stadium is going to be moving. So what are they going to do with all of that land on the lakefront? So I think, summing up, I think the UK, very hands-off, gives you a really healthy return at 9%, no vacancy, no maintenance. The US, a little bit more of a headache. It's going to give you, not a headache, but it's going to take time, energy. You might have to sit down once every week and touch base with your management company, or once every month, have a call with the management company. You might deal with tenants leaving, but it might give you the potential to get a higher return and see really good growth, like especially in Cleveland, So I hope that kind of explains my thoughts on it. Anyway, I've worked in property for 30 years. I own property in the UK, and I own property in the US, and I own property in Europe as well. And I invest in the stock market and the S&P 500. So I think it's about looking at what you need. What are you looking for from the money that you have to invest? And where is it going to work best for you? And also look at the time and the energy that you have to put into it, because some people have such busy lives they don't have time, and I get that. So maybe the UK is a better investment for an investor like that who has a really busy lifestyle, you know. But we have some great inventory in both markets this week, in the UK, Cleveland, Canton, Detroit, up here in the Northeast, which is where I'm based in the UK. So if you do want any information, or you'd like to have a call with myself or any of the guys, Marcella in South America, Gökhan in Turkey, Scott in the UK, Barry in Spain, Farouk out in Canada. We have offices, Ian in Dubai. Drop us a text, a WhatsApp, drop us an email, give us a call. We can jump on a call with you, discuss your specific needs, and see what we think, or together what we think is best for you as an investor. I think a couple of things that I would leave you with. I think number one, cash flow is king. Location is essential. Doesn't matter whether it's in the US or the UK. But remember, in the UK you are buying the numbers. And remember, always look for that exit. You know, when you want to come to sell, when you want your money back, who's that end buyer? So they're the three main things that I look for when I'm buying a piece of real estate. Number one, cash flow. I think it's the first thing, because that puts value on the property. You know, if a property can create or deliver a certain amount of cash flow, it brings the property's value up, you know. But always have that exit as well. Look at, you know, how in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years time, how do I get my money back if you need it back, you know. But listen, I hope that helps, guys. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon.